How to actually make big money, the things millionaires do that nobody ever taught you. This is the most expensive sentence that you tell yourself. I'm just gonna work harder. I'm gonna grind harder. And that is the biggest mistake. Harder was never the answer. And exhaustion was never the price of wealth. Millionaires aren't working more hours than you. They're paid on a different formula. Burn this in your mind. The wealth formula is always be, do, have. Once you become more, you're going to start doing more and you're going to have a lot more. Yet most people have it backwards. They're constantly wanting to have more with being the same person and doing the same things. It never works. You've read the books, taken the courses, put in the hours. From the outside, you feel productive, but productive is not the answer. Results are the answer. Behind closed doors, you're grinding so hard, but you're exhausted. That gap between effort and pay isn't bad luck. It's a formula you're on the wrong side of. Now, I learned this the hard way. I traded time for years. I was at a corporate job and I kept trading my time for the amount of money I was earning, and it nearly cost me everything. If effort equaled income, every exhausted person on earth would be rich. It's all about value. The greatest secret in life is how do I keep increasing value? How can I continue to increase solving problems for people? Now, the hustle myth we need to kill off right now. This is your survival identity. This is the part of your poverty consciousness that keeps working in the background, telling you the harder you work, the better you're going to do. Now, effort is not the variable. The hardest working person you know, I want you to think about that person. Somebody who is really working so hard at what they do is not the richest person you know. Now I want you to think about the wealthiest person you know, whether you know them directly or indirectly. Everything is effortless. That's the game. Think about it. The single mother working 3 jobs is working harder than any millionaire that I know. But they're not earning what millionaires are earning. The market never pays for effort. It always pays for value. Add service, add value. Now, 2 people work the exact same hours. One is earning $60,000 a year. One is earning $600,000. Same calendar, same effort. So the real question stops being, how do I work more, and becomes, how do I become worth more? I always tell people who I coach, I said one of the few questions I ever get, if ever, is how do I become more? They're always asking me, how do I increase my income? And the answer is always by becoming more. But no one asks me that question. The marketplace, not sometimes, always pays for value, not effort. So we have to really go deep in this and understand the law of compensation. Emerson wrote a great essay on this. The law of compensation clearly states the amount of money you earn is in direct proportion to the need for what you do. Now, I want you to think about it. Look at what you're doing right now. Is there a need? Or are you trying to earn more money where the value isn't there? So it's always about the need for what you do, how badly the market wants it. Is it a high value in the marketplace? And then number 2 is your ability to do it. How good am I at doing it? See, I work at my craft every day. I'm never satisfied with it because I know my job is to keep upgrading my mindset and my skill set. Now, you may be watching me for the first time, or you may have seen me many times, and you may say, he's better today, or I was better last week, but it's not going to be because of lack of effort. I keep putting in understanding the law of compensation. And the third part is the difficulty of replacing you. How rare you actually are in the marketplace. Am I an outlier? Am I authentic? Am I serving at the highest level? But out of the law of compensation, the number one thing that is most important is your ability to do it. You've got to practice adding value every day, every day, every day, every day, and you're going to be rewarded handsomely from the marketplace. Then we got to go to the need. How do I solve a bigger problem, a more painful problem in the marketplace, a more expensive problem? People will pay great amounts of money if you can show them how to solve a problem through transformation. So I want you to think about that. Get out a piece of paper and write out exactly a list of problems that you can solve. And then you got to look at your skill set. What is the skill set? If I was excellent if I practiced it 10,000 times over and over and over again, will make me the standard of what I do. That's your ability to do it. Now we got to ask ourselves, how do I become the one who does it in a certain way? That certain way is just effortless. That certain way is at the identity level. That certain way is somebody with passion. You are going to become irreplaceable. We get paid, not sometimes, all the time, in exact proportion to the value we deliver. So let's take a step back and let's look at your current results. What are they telling you? Our results are telling us exactly the service we're rendering. And you may be sitting there saying, no, I give great service. What does the marketplace say? Now, understand this. When you decide, like Earl Nightingale said, to earn a lot of money, right away you get on that wealth frequency. To earn a lot of money, you have to understand money. Money is an effect, it's not the cause. Millionaires understand that. That's why it is much easier to earn $1 million a year than it is 100,000. Why? Because $1 million is based on leverage. $1 million is based on mindset. $1 million is based on skill set. 100 is based on grinding. 100 is based on trading your time for money. So now we've got to understand the 3 levels of money. Now you got to lock this in. Now, if you are ready to explode your income, I want you to type in the comments, money. That's it. One word. Money has an identity just like you and I have an identity. And I want it to be in the comments. And if you put it in the comments, it's going to change the game for you. Now, there's 3 money strategies. The first is M1. You trade time for money. This is how 96% of the people are living their whole life. They're trading their time for the hours they work, so they're always going to be limited on what they can earn. Now, understand, that's what I used to do when I didn't understand money. I only operated from the M1 strategy, where you trade time for the money you earn. Now, this is a terrible strategy. This is a strategy where people are living paycheck to paycheck because there's only so much time in your day. M2, you invest money, money multiplies, money earns money. Only 2% of the population are using this strategy. They're investing in real estate, they're investing in stocks, they're investing in opportunities. Now this is multiplying. And then there's M3. This is the single best advice my mentor ever gave me. He said, you, Arash, have to start creating multiple sources of income. I fell in love with that idea. I want everybody who works with me, I tell them this every time I coach them. I want you to earn more money while you sleep than you can spend while you're awake. Well, I remember I started loving this idea of multiple sources of income. And I started focusing my attention on it. But I still was doing it the wrong way. See, I created all these sources of income, but they were earning me like $20 each. That wasn't the game. And I remember going back to my mentor. He said, no, Arash, you open your mind to multiple sources of income, but you focus on one income stream at a time. And you get that really rocking. When you get that rocking, you create the next one. And you get that rocking. Now I have thousands of income streams. But understand, you're talking to the person who was just like you. You may be in the same spot I was, where you were working paycheck to paycheck, where you were struggling, but you knew you were capable of more. The only thing you're missing is direction. See, money has clues. You have to understand it. Now, I recommend you work on all 3 strategies. You do what you love, so you trade your time for that. You invest and you're creating multiple sources of income. But understand, multiple sources of income is not you looking out there to add another job to yourself. It's working in the background based on the systems and the leverage you created. Now, I want you to ask yourself, how would your life feel? What would you experience right now if you had turned your annual income into your monthly income? Now, this isn't a fairy tale idea. There's people right now in 2026 who have turned their annual income into their monthly income. There's people who have turned their annual income into their weekly income. Here's the question I have for you. Why not you? What if you learned the rules of money, you improved your service, you got the proper direction, and you exploded your income, and income became a habit? Did you hear what I just said? Income became a habit because it is a habit. Money is a habit. It's an attitude. Are you repelling it? because you don't understand it, or are you attracting it? You're going to know right away. You're going to know this second if that's you. Now, how do you climb out of the N1? You have to build it and sell it 1,000 times. That's how you get out of M1. You create a product, you create an idea, you create a service of what you really know. You build it once and you sell it 1,000 times. Now you're not trading your time for money. What you created once, you can create over and over and over again. Now, isn't that a great idea? You build systems, you build a team so the work runs without you in every seat. Now, you may be sitting there and saying, Arash, how can I build systems in a team when I'm paycheck to paycheck? Because if you could believe it in your mind, you can create it and you can hold it in your hand. You've got to understand, I didn't know how to do any of this, but I surrounded myself with the right mentor and I followed his model. And all my clients are following my model. Well, that's all you have to do. It doesn't matter where you are now. It only matters who you decide to be to where you're going. When you put money to work so it earns while you sleep, you are going to change the game. You're going to change staying in M1. You're going to change staying in poverty consciousness. So here's the question I have for you. Which level is your income at right now? Are you in M1? Are you in M2? Are you in M3? Or are you in a combination, which I recommend? See, that will tell you how well you understand how money works. Now, we have to add value. Remember the law of compensation. You always get paid in direct proportion to the service you render. That's adding value. The greatest secret in life is how can I add more value? I want you to prioritize and standardize value over hustle. Now, serve more people, not more hours. Money always follows value, and value always multiplies with how many people you serve. Service to many means greatness, and it creates great wealth. Let me say that again. Service to many means greatness, and it creates great wealth. That's what you want to do. Stop trading your time for money. Start working on creating a wealth identity. Crush your poverty consciousness. Crush your survival identity. Sell first, create second. Never build the thing before you've sold the thing in your mind first. When you sell it, you're creating it. When you sell it, then you build it. The greatest habit is decision before evidence. See, right now, the people who are stuck, who are living paycheck to paycheck like I used to many years ago, it's because you're waiting for a guarantee. That's how you have it backwards. That's not how money works. Abundance demands us to be bold. That means you've got to bet on yourself. That means you have to have courage. That means you have to build discipline. And that means you have to build understanding. Understanding is the key to freedom. The only way you gain understanding is through study. That is the only way. Now, you've got to remember, the pros create, amateurs compete. Are you competing against somebody else or are you competing against yourself? The pros are always creating. Now, most people are managing their life. Maybe you're managing your life. You are a creative being. You're meant to create life by design. You want to sit down and write out exactly how you want to live over the next 12 months. And you want to commit to it. Remember, creation. You are a creative being. Your spiritual DNA is absolutely perfect. Your soul is always for expansion and growth. Don't compete against anyone. The only person you want to compete against is who you were yesterday. You've got to master, if you're going to create great wealth, if you're going to create M1, M2, and M3 and create financial freedom, you've got to build 5 great hours in your day, not 12 distracted hours. There's a great book, From Good to Great by Collins. He said, every person on average spends 13 weeks a year in distracted time. You're giving away a full quarter in distraction. How can you create financial freedom? How can you turn your annual income into your monthly income? It's about 5 great hours every day, 5 intentional hours. It's not about doing 10,000 things. It's about doing a few things 10,000 times. 5 great focused hours a day builds a world-class life. Now, what I want you to do is set timers in these 5 great hours. I want you to set a timer. Maybe you're doing a 30-minute sprint on your goal-achieving activities. Maybe it's a 60-minute sprint. Maybe it's a 90-minute sprint. I'm best in 30 to 45-minute sprints. You may be better at a 90-minute sprint. So you do a few of those a day. You watch how productive you're going to be. You watch how creative the ideas are going to come. But the key in these sprints, they're focus time. They're not distracted. You put your phone on Do Not Disturb. This will change the game for you. Do the 5 great hours. Make it into a habit, and it's going to change everything. Now, what is your highest income producing activity? Are you asking that question before you get into the 5 great hours? See, most people are just doing what they've always done, and they're expecting different results. See, repetition by itself doesn't mean change. It's repetition with purposeful intention. I call it deliberate practice. It puts repetition on steroids. I want you to start asking yourself, before you take any action, is this my highest income producing activity? And if it's not, you don't do it. Nothing else gets those hours during your 5 great hours. Busy is just broke in motion. It's not about being busy to be busy. It's about being busy to be effective, to be productive, to transform people's lives with the idea, product, and service you deliver. I want you to protect those 5 great hours starting tomorrow. If you're willing to put this into a practice, I want you to put it in the chat, just the number 5. And then block those hours out on your calendar the night before so nobody else can claim them. I promise you, in 30 days, you're going to message me back at how much this one habit has changed your wealth, has changed your income immediately, and has changed your self-esteem. I want your phone on Do Not Disturb. I want your door closed. Nobody can disturb you during your 5 great hours. And then after you do your sprint, go do whatever you want. If you need a break, take a break. But your sprints, that is your ritual time. That is your time where you are living from the end. The person who lives from the end is the most unstoppable person in the world. The person who's going to the end is the most distracted person. Remember, be more, do more, you're going to have more. And right now you may be watching this saying, okay, I've tried to increase my income for decades. It hasn't worked. Maybe it hasn't worked because you haven't consistently been working on the ideas. Is that possible? Maybe it hasn't worked because every time you start moving forward, you go back into being your old self, being comfortable. And here is the dichotomy of this all. When you start making these changes, in the beginning, your results don't change. They could even be going backwards. This is the trap your old self uses to go back to comfort. Do not give in. Persistency is key. Now understand, you do not give in to the result. The results are just feedback of what you've done in the past. You stick to this for 90 days, you'll never not do this. I will tell you this. You do not do more to have more. You have to become more. Be, do, have. Identity. The work that people are avoiding is identity. And identity is everything. Your current level of income tells you your current level of identity. Identity has to be prioritized. It has to be an obsession. The doing will get easy once the being is handled. So you've got to get involved in the repetition with intention. And then you're going to start loving who you're becoming. Now, most people try to do and have without ever changing who they are, and they stay stuck. I've been there. That was me. For 3 years, that's what I did. But then I got the proper direction, and I've never been the same ever since, nor will you. Now, you never attract what you want. You attract what you are. So if I look at my results, you look at your results right now. That tells us what is going on inside of us. The outside is a shadow to what's going on inside. Yet we all are so controlled by the outside. That's what millionaires master. We master that understanding. Understanding is the key to freedom. Premium clients are attracted by a premium identity. So you've got to build your identity up. So stop chasing anything. Stop haggling over price. Become the person you want to be. Now become the person who is that high value client that says yes without flinching. Watch what you are going to start attracting into your life. You're going to get the same thing. Like attracts like. Never lower your price to get clients. Never chase. Always raise your standard. You raise your identity to constantly attract better people in your life. And understand this right now, never blame the economy. You create your own economy. I create my own economy. See, we have to understand we're the only problem and the only solution. See, when anyone ever blames the economy, I laugh because in a great economy, people are struggling. In a terrible economy, people are crushing it. I want you to write out the exact economy. If you created your own ideal economy, what would that look like? Write it out in a few paragraphs. Now you activated it. You started giving it life. Circumstances are just feedback. Every time you give into the circumstance, you give all your power away. When you start getting a circumstance you don't like, this is what I want you to do. I want you to say, I refuse to let this define me. Now you're not losing your state of all the good you've been doing. Do not give your power away to circumstances. Circumstances are just feedback. The headlines are not your business plan. Don't be fooled by circumstances. We have to change our perception to circumstances and start creating the circumstances of how we want to live. Well, how do you do that? You have to stop listening to your physical senses. What you have to do is start tapping into your spiritual senses. How do you do that? So let's say somebody wants to earn $1 million a year. They're earning $100,000. They would tap into their spiritual eyes and see what they would see had they already earned that $100,000 a month. They would hear not what they're currently hearing, but what they would want to hear somebody congratulating them. They would touch nice things. They would smell the air of money. Smell the air of production. It's just a different smell. See, this is where we're fooled by. We're operating from our senses. We got to put our senses literally in a safe, in a lockbox. And we got to tap into the spiritual side of our personality. Money is a spiritual idea. You have to think, feel, and act on that spiritual plane. That's where you're more loyal to the unseen than the seen. And through repetition of holding that, you're going to see yourself in a completely different stratosphere. And I promise you, you're going to have M1, M2, and M3, and you're going to constantly start looking at money as a game. And you are no longer going to be a slave to money. And remember what all of this is actually for. Money is never the goal. Freedom is the goal. Money is the tool. Freedom of time, freedom of experiences, freedom of priorities, not someone else's. Remember what I told you. This is the biggest mistake I made 20, 30 years ago, is I was letting somebody else dictate what I can earn when I was in the corporate world. You have to go out and you decide who you're going to be. You decide what you're going to earn and your life is going to change. Now, what's going to happen, you're going to change your presence at home. You're going to show up as your best everywhere. Your family demands that and they deserve that. That's why we build standards. The ability to take care of the people you love, this is your why, without ever having to check your bank balance first. Imagine that was your life. How would you feel? If one person can create great wealth, so can you. If I can do it, you can do it. But you got to learn the rules. So I want you to ask yourself this week, over and over, which one do I have to improve? The need? Is there a need in the marketplace that I can find? Or is it focusing on my ability to upgrade my mindset and skill set? Or how can I become more irreplaceable in the marketplace? Now, for me, it's always the ability. If I take care of the ability, I find the need and I make myself irreplaceable. But that is something I want you to find. Remember, money is a skill and an identity. Both are learnable. Excellence is never inherited, it's constructed. Get paid for value. Climb from M1 towards M3. Serve many people. You're going to bring out your greatness. Become the person you want to be. And remember, listening to this once isn't the deal. You want to listen to this video over and over and over again for the next 30 days. Information without implementation is delusion. The ideas work when we work the ideas. Do not go back to go binge on YouTube. I want you to watch this for 30 days. You're going to pick up so many different things than what you're picking up this first time. Pick one move and make it today. Stop living paycheck to paycheck. Create your own economy. Reset your money set point. I will tell you, it's going to change the game. Thank you so much.